Hi everyone, hope you're doing good. This is going to be an interesting video. Now, if you know me and you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I like metalcore, I'm a metalcore fan. But more specifically, I really love the 2000s metalcore from, that period. 90s stuff is alright. I haven't really listened to it a lot, but I do have a lot of respect for it. However, the modern metalcore sound over the last 5 to 10 years, I absolutely despise it. I absolutely hate it. And as it's going along, I think it's getting worse. It's become a shadow of what it was before. And yeah, this subject can be a bit of a Marmite one for me, whether I either like it or I don't. But yeah, in this video, I'm gonna go through my reasons why I think modern metalcore, well and truly, 100% sucks. Now, if you're new, please consider subscribing for more guitar, rock and metal music content. A massive thank you to those who have already subscribed and for watching, commenting, and any new subs that I've gained recently. Massively appreciated. Now, let's get straight into this video. Now, before I actually get into it, I just want to iterate that this is just my opinion. This is what I think. You know, you might think something different. But I was prompted to make this video after listening to some modern metalcore songs and thinking it was a pile of trash. But yeah, I know some people watching this, a lot of my viewers anyway, probably won't be interested in this video at all because they hate metalcore, and they'll be putting in the comments, all metalcore sucks. But you know, whatever, that's fine. I personally think the 2000 stuff is so great. And what makes it so great for me is the heavy melodic death metal influence in the music. But not just that, it takes a lot of influence from most metal genres that came before it with hardcore punk. It's got like a heavy groovy vibe with the riffing, sort of like death metal, thrash metal, groove metal. But then it's got like catchy choruses that you'd find in glam metal and power metal and like almost like mainstream music, but you know, kind of puts it all together with the hardcore punk as well. And then the 90s metalcore scene had a pretty big hardcore punk influence, bigger than the 2000s. It was mainly like hardcore punk and groove metal. So yeah, this is what partly is part of my first reason for why I don't like the modern metalcore. So going on that, my first reason is that it doesn't sound the same as what it used to before, and not in a good way. For me, it's just developed to the point where it doesn't even sound like metalcore anymore. It sounds like way too like nu metal mixed with radio rock and alternative rock, and a lot of bands nowadays are sort of putting these like post-hardcore post elements in there, and you know, all that stuff I absolutely hate. I think it's all a load of crap, to be honest, and the fact that they're putting that in and trying to make like a radio rock hit or radio hit and not focusing on what you know, the true sort of beliefs of what made metalcore sort of, you know, loses that. It loses it for me, and they kind of almost like forgot what it is. And yeah, that sort of goes back to the point when I was listening to it, I didn't even recognize it as metalcore anymore. The second point I've got is the production is too over the top. The overproduction just takes all the enjoyment out for me when listening to the songs. They just sound really canned and processed. Like all the life is taken out of it. It's just too, too meticulous and too mechanical. Yeah, it just feels like you're just listening to generic radio music, and for me, I hate that, to be honest. The drums are really basic. The sound quality is meh. It just sounds like basic, like pop drums sometimes as well, to be honest. And the guitar tone is way too bassy. It just is not a very good tone at all. I don't like it at all. My third point is that musically it's a bit uninteresting and very, very generic. It's just a bit boring to me. It just feels really uninspired. And yeah, when I was listening to these tracks, I listened to a couple of songs by Architects and a couple of songs by While She Sleeps. And honestly, I couldn't even get through to the end of the song because I thought this is awful. This is terrible. I can't even listen to the whole thing. It is crap, absolute crap. Songwriting is just not very good. To me it just feels like they're just really focused on like writing a real poppy style chorus. Again, something that you could play on radio rock and stuff like that, and writing like this breakdowns. Some of the breakdowns are alright, but then some of them are just a bit naff, especially on the While She Sleeps song. I can't remember, is it Sleep Society, I think? I thought the breakdown was terrible. It was awful. The riffs are a bit dull. They don't really add anything new or interesting to the music. They're not really innovative. They just sound like off-cut nu metal sounding riffs, to be honest. Really, really poor. Vocally as well, it just sounds like generic radio style vocals. There's hardly any screaming vocals, or if there is, it's like for 10 seconds and that's it. And it's just really, really poor. And the last point sort of reiterates what I was saying, but the bands are trying to reach an audience that doesn't really listen to metal. They sort of listen to the radio outside of metal, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing if they want to try and grow their fan base and grow their audience. But for me personally, I don't really like radio rock, radio music. I don't listen to the radio. I don't care about that kind of stuff. And if one of these bands was on the radio, I probably wouldn't even bother listening. It kind of, to go with that point, it sort of defeats the point of it being metal. It's sort of just turned into like radio alternative hard rock kind of thing. It's not really metal anymore. It can't really be classed as metalcore if it's just like this alternative radio hard metal rock thing. I don't know. So, these bands seem to be moving away from what made metalcore what it is, what it was anyway. So you can't really call it metalcore. You can't really put it in that same category as like Killswitch Engage or As I Lay Dying and bands like that, because it doesn't sound anything like them bands anymore. You'd have to call it something almost like new metalcore or alternative metalcore or post metalcore or something like that. It would make more sense that way if it was called something like that, because then it's like it's not really actual proper metalcore. It's something else that it's sort of deprived away from. And metalcore, as the definition of what it is, I think is dying out because of that, because it hasn't been like expanded upon. It's sort of just become what it's becoming, and it's only going to carry on and get worse, really. Now I'm just going to finish off with a couple of final thoughts. I honestly prefer older bands' newer albums over the last couple of years. I think they're way better than what these new bands can do. For example, this is Killswitch Engage's album from 2019, Atonement, and I think this is way better than a lot of the newer metalcore bands are doing. This is a fantastic album. and also what come out last year, Bullet for My Valentine, self-titled. Absolutely awesome album with the classic metalcore style from the 2000s. These two are brilliant. But then some of the older bands are starting to incorporate a little bit of the newer sound in there, but there's still enough of the old sound to keep me interested. Those kind of albums I don't mind because there's that sort of older sound. And just for example, this is Bury Tomorrow. I got given this not that long ago by Mark G with a Seat, and this I really like, even though it's got a little bit of the newer stuff in there, but it's got enough of the old sound in there. And also, As I Lay Dying, Shaped by Fire, that come out in 2019. This is also really cool. It's got a little bit of the modern style, but it's got enough of the old style to keep me interested. And also the Polaris album from 2020 I thought was okay as well, but apart from that, I'm not really overly bothered. I'm not honestly interested in any new metalcore bands that sound like the modern dross that has been happening over the last couple of years. However, if there's any newer bands that sound more like the 2000s metalcore, please let me know, because I'd be really interested in checking those bands out. But no bands like Spirit Box and crap like that. It's just crap. So that was this video. I'd love to know what you thought of this video, whether you agree with me or disagree. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. This is going to be really interesting to see what people think of this. I'd love to know what you think of metalcore as a whole. Like, do you think it's in decline? Do you think it's been in decline? Do you think whether these newer bands should just be put in a different category rather than just metalcore? And also, what's your favourite era of metalcore? Is it the 90s stuff? Is it the 2000s stuff? Is it the new stuff? I mean, I don't know. If you like the new stuff, that's fair enough. But, you know, it's not for me. And also, lastly, please let me know if there's any newer metalcore bands with the old sound. I'd love to be able to check some out. And yeah, if you got this far, thanks ever so much for watching. And until the next time, keep it metal.